In this video, what we want to do is when we hit add to cart, we want to add items to our session. The only thing we'll be storing right now is the product ID. So how do we do that? If we switch back to our application, let me stop it here. If we go to our details, we see we have the buttons and link. When we click add to cart, we are actually triggering a submit and the form is of method post. So we need to create an action method for details post, and then we have remove to cart, in which we just have an action and we are passing the product ID that needs to be removed from the shopping cart. So we'll have to do all that in the home controller. So where we have the details, we can just copy this and paste it one more time here. Here we'll add HTTP post and we'll give it an action name. Whoops, it should be comma, action name. In here, what is the action name? We will say details. There we go. And we'll call this as details post. We want to get the ID right here. So if we go back, we can add the ASP route ID with the post as well. Or if you go on the top, we can add a hidden property here. So input, we'll do ASP4 is equal to at model dot we have the product dot ID and we'll make it hidden. That way we can access this ID inside the post action. So once we do that, right here we'll add a debugger to make sure we retrieve that. Once we do, what are the next thing that we want to do? We want to create a list of shopping cart because we need to retrieve the session and see if anything exists in the session or not. So I'll just call this shopping cart list is equal to new list of shopping cart. Then we need to check here if session is null or if it has count greater than 0. In here we'll do http context.session.get and we need to define the type here, which is, you can say enumerable or list, it doesn't matter here. It is of shopping cart and what is the name of the session or the key. So that is inside wc constant dot we have the session cart. If this is not null, we can have an AND condition here and we'll make sure that count is greater than 0. So we'll copy and paste it one more time and we'll say dot count. If this count is greater than 0, then what we want to do is we know that session exists, we need to retrieve that session and we need to add item to the session. So we will say shopping cart list is equal to http context.session.get and we want to retrieve the session again. Here we can do enumerable of shopping cart and what's the name? It's wc.shopping cart or session cart. Now here we are using enumerable, but it should be a list. And the reason is right here we are using a list, and also on count this should have a bracket. There we go. So we are retrieving our session right here. Next, what we want to do is we want to add our new item or product ID in shopping cart. So we'll do add, and here let me just create a new shopping cart object because it only has one property, which is product ID is equal to ID. So what we are doing is if it is empty, we are directly adding it. If it has values, we retrieve it here and then we add it. That being said, we need to set the session. So http context.session.set and we want to set the key will be web constant.session cart and what is the value? That is shopping cart list. Once you do that, we want to redirect back to the home page. So for that we have redirect to action. Now here, rather than using magic strings, we can use the name of method here, and then we can give any name from the existing action method. it can only have the name that already exists. So with the use of name of, you skip the chances of getting errors using magic string. So that's why I always prefer name of instead of double quotes and then index. Alright, so we did quite a lot of code in this video. Let's run our application and see if this actually works. So we'll go to details here. Let's add to cart. We'll hit the debugging point. Let's do debug F10. It should be null right now. Yep, it did not go inside the if condition. It adds it to the shopping cart. Let's see the ID. And perfect, product ID is 3. Let me hit continue. Great, you can see there is one item in our cart. Let's scroll down and add one more. This time it should go inside the if condition because we have set the session. Great, it retrieves and it already has 1 count. It adds the new product and now this should have 2 count and we are setting the session. So great, you can see everything is working in add to session. That being said, if we scroll down and if we click here one more time, this time it should not display add to cart. It should rather display remove from cart. So let's add that logic in the next video.